Yeah.
Get it. What's up, you guys? FIFA, already see you in the chat. We are not late. But we did miss you guys. It's good to be back. Jay, Fluent, how you doing?
Man,
I feel like
go ahead, Jay.
I'm sorry, Tom. I apologize. What's going on?
Well, you know what? It's been what, 2 weeks since I've seen you guys. I know you've been doing, holding things over on your channel, Jay, but we've missed a lot, not only in the NBA, but the NFL as well. But it's good to be back on Player's Choice. We went through our little rebranding. So, yeah, shout out to Fluent for that intro as well. That was absolutely fire. I like that.
Oh, right.
Jay, though, what's been going on? Any headlines in the news that have been floating around that you've been kind of caught you off guard since I've seen you last?
No, nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy. Nothing that's caught me off guard. Anything that I've seen that I've actually, you know what? That's not true. This
I knew there was something.
This SGA is better than Jayson Tatum logic. I'm gonna crash my car into a telephone pole. I can't handle it.
Not heard this one.
I can't handle it.
They're trolling you. They've got to be trolling you.
No, Bill Simmons is the one who said it.
Bill?
Yes, Bill Simmons is the one who said it. Jayson Tatum is better. I'm sorry, SGA is better than Jayson Tatum, and I
heard someone say this though about that.
That's not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say that. See what I'm talking about? See what I mean, H? See, this is what I'm talking about. This kind of stuff takes years off my life.
Yeah. No, 100%. That's outrageous.
This takes years off my life when they do that.
Yeah, but you know that's what they're trying to do too, Jay. They come out at you. I mean, Bill Simmons coming out with that one is kind of that's surprising to me. But you know they'll just say something to get under your skin. But we'll get into that. I guess
it may be true. It may be true that they're trolling, whatever you want to call it. But I mean,
because they know you're JT's biggest fan. They know that. So they're.
I'm a Jayson Tatum guy. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a Tatum guy, 100%.
So while Fluent is working on a last minute thing, we're gonna read off these members. Styles Black, appreciate you. Quabe, Music BP, FIFA Boy, Christian, appreciate all of you guys for real. Dudley, AB, and Fun Video, appreciate all of you guys. And so. We have a lot going on. Just a little refresher. If you guys haven't heard, obviously we're streaming over on Playback, so that is going to be a ton of fun. Jay, I think you have a game tomorrow, right? I've heard through the grapevine, so that should be fun. I'll definitely be tuning in. You have I won't.
The Celtic Nuggets. That's
Celtic
the game
Nuggets,
yeah.
So that's going to be, that's a big game.
I got booted. They were asking who wanted to do the Pacers game. I'm like, oh, is it Siakam's first game? They were like, yeah.
Pacers.
That was my way of saying I should probably be there. And shout out to Ron and Bama and Dub, who Claire favors. So it's going to be the three of them. But if anyone wants to know anything about Siakam in Indiana, hit me up. I'll tell you what kind of guy he is.
Yes. Well, we're going to get your.
It should be a good. Is Halliburton back?
No, not quite yet.
He's not back yet. Okay. So we're not really going to see what they can do together. So that's fine.
But soon we will, and we'll get your expert opinion later on in the show too, Fluent, because I do want to hear what you've heard, because I'm sure you have some insider information. Double P, good to see you too. I'm pretty sure we're become a member. There's different tiers for that, but definitely become a member. Go check out Playback, become a member over there. And if you guys want to always get your super chats in Double P, he hit us with our first super chat. What's good? A lot has happened since the last show. Raptors lose to Detroit, Warriors lose to Morant, less Warriors, and the biggest threat to SF is Green Bay.
Man, I got smoked last week. Sorry, I guess I don't want to bring this. Do you want to get to that?
It's time. We got to get to it right now. I say go off on your rant, Fluent. Go off.
No, it's not a rant. It's
that's what it is.
These are our picks from last week.
And really quick, this is from Claire. She said,
I know. I just
you
said this is
mean.
Siakam's game. I didn't put my hand up. She's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Notice that this man did not have his hands up. I get it. I got it.
There you go. There you go.
Claire, the more you deal with Tone, the more you'll find out how much of a troll he is. Okay,
Yes.
Tone is one of the biggest trolls on the internet. Do not the school thing fool you. Okay,
Damn
so Claire, in the future, just so you know, this is what you're dealing with when you're dealing with Tone. He's one of the biggest trolls on the internet. 100%.
FIFA, get me out of jail. FIFA, get me out of jail. Okay, so I'm more concerned about this. I normally, as you know, am fantastic with my picks, and I went 3-3. Jay, who is normally not as good, went 5-1. He went 5-1. So those are our picks from last week. You know, Haley was off, suntanning somewhere in the Caribbean while we were working, and so
Looks good, H, by the way.
Oh, thank
I had the Texans.
Thank you, guys.
You know, I've been good with it. Although I've been good with my. I told you it must be the AFC guy, because when you weren't here, Haley. We recapped. We did the order. Remember, you and I and Jay and Sebastian had come on, and we made our picks 1 through 7 where everyone was going to land. I did horribly in the NFC, but I dominated the AFC. Okay. So again, I'm 3-0 in the AFC. I'm 0-3 in the NFC.
You don't know us.
Well, just like my Bears, we have no business being there, I guess.
No.
I had the Texans. Jay had the Browns. So, Jay, now that you saw the game, are you really surprised that 90-year-old Joe Flacco lost to this Texans team?
I am surprised because I did. Well, number one, I had the Texans. If you remember when we first talked about them before the season started, I thought that they would be at the bottom of the AFC, but I thought that they would be like a 2-14 team that was in dogfights every week. That's who I thought that they were. I did not think that CJ Stroud would be this good. I did not think that their defense would be this good. So the idea of them actually even being in this game, I did not have that. Now, as far as Flacco, Tone, we know who Flacco is, right? Okay, I get that part. Here's the difference, though. He's actually playing really good up until the pick 6, the first one. Playing the first one, okay? He's actually playing really good up until that point. I mean, I think he's like 12 for 20 or something like that, and he's not really missed a lot. But when he throws that first pick 6, okay, he's going to get it back together, and he's going to come back, and because that wasn't the dagger, Tone. No, they still in the game. The game's still going on. They still in the game. When he throws that second pick 6, that's when it goes to pieces. Game's over. We're done. We're finished. And he looked like Flacco, who was on the couch, just hanging out, jogging. That he looked like that dude, and it was like,
retired
there he
Flacco.
is.
Yeah,
there he is. We appreciate you, brother. Absolutely, we appreciate you. And by the way, H, the reason why Tone he doesn't know the NFC, because if you remember a conversation that we had earlier in the year, Tone had the AFC here, and he had the NFC the girl that you don't even pay.
Everybody
you got like the girl that you give your homework to in school and make her do it. Like you ain't even paying attention to her. That's who Tone was with the NFC.
Did everyone not agree that the AFC should have been better? They've got the better quarterbacks, which is the most important position on the field. They had what we thought was. Listen, when you run it down again, don't do revisionist history. Go back and think. When you looked at the Browns with Watson, okay, you looked at Pittsburgh, who didn't have a quarterback, but Pittsburgh's always a 500 or better team. So you thought Cleveland was going to be good. Cincinnati you thought was going to be good. Baltimore with a healthy Lamar Jackson. So there's 3 teams that you thought in the AFC North that were going to be good contenders, and the Pittsburgh right there as they always are. So there's 4. Then in the AFC East, you liked Miami, you liked the Bills. You weren't probably as high on New England. You were not high on New England. But I guarantee you were high on Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. So there's 6 teams already, and that's just 2 of the divisions. So now you have if I just say the quarterbacks' names: Aaron Rodgers, Tua, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burr, and Deshaun Watson. And I haven't even mentioned the AFC West yet, with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, with Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Like, so there's 9-10 teams in the AFC. So it would be easy to say, again, when we're looking at it all healthy starting the season, and then you look at the NFC and you said, okay, Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, and do you believe in Dak? Right, and then it drops off. So we all thought the AFC South was going to be a bunch of teams sub 500. So I wasn't crazy to think that, and it wasn't that far off. But hey, I
thought Daniel Jones was going to be better. I did. Not only did I think Daniel Jones was going to be better, I had the whole AFC West making the playoffs. If you remember when we had that conversation, where it wasn't ridiculous to think that the entire division could make the playoffs. It wasn't ridiculous for me to think that with the Chargers, with Kansas City, with the Raiders. It wasn't ridiculous, and with Kansas City, I thought that the whole AFC West could make the playoffs. However, with the Rams, with the 49ers, with Seattle being much better, I thought that the Giants would be better, but I got tricked. I got tricked by Daniel Jones. Yes, I did. I think that I think he was a one-hit wonder. He got me to sign him to an album when in reality he was just a single guy. That was it. That was all I was getting. Yeah, that was it. That was all I was getting. He tricked me into signing him to a whole album, which turned out to be garbage. That was my fault. I'm not gonna. I won't. I won't lie about that. Nah.
Okay, so that was game one. Texans and Browns. We both picked Kansas City. You feel comfortable with Kansas City
against
no? I mean,
the Bills?
moving forward. Yeah, moving forward. Like, was that their playoff win?
Well, no, I don't think that was just their playoff win. I mean, Buffalo does.
He's like, I don't know what I want to talk about the Chiefs.
Well, I think a lot of that had to do with. I'll be honest with you, Tone. If that game was in, I don't know, November, when it wasn't -4, I like Miami a lot more than when I think the weather had a lot to do with it, because Miami is an aerial attack team. I mean, they run the football 100%, but I think that they're a team that throws the football a lot. And when it's minus whatever outside, throwing the football is hard. Patrick Mahomes, on the other hand, he's kind of used to that sort of stuff. When you're coming from Miami, come from Buffalo, those two things are not the same. So do I like Kansas City moving forward? I mean, they beat them last year. I don't think they're the same team. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they're the same team. But just like we talk about other quarterbacks, Josh Allen's got to show it to me too.
For sure. The one thing I want to say about Miami is, like, they have no one else to blame but themselves. They had a 3-game lead in the AFC East with 5 games to play, and they blew it. They should have won that division, and that game should have been played in Miami, and it would have been very, very different. As Jay and I found out yesterday, I was going for a drive, me and Mrs. Fluent, and we had a little chat with Jay about a certain Toronto Raptor trade. Mrs. Fluent was very, how can I put this? She was not happy.
She was pissed. Let's call it what it is. She was pissed.
She was not happy with the trade.
Not happy. She was pissed. We can't talk. We can't say what she said on air.
Yeah, in trouble. Said on air.
Yeah, she was pissed.
But the one thing that came out of that conversation was, why we were driving was, as opposed to what we normally do, which is walk. It was freezing. Like, I mean, cold. It was like -15, -20. It was cold. And she's like, hey, how's the weather down there? Because I'm trying to get her to move. And Jay's like, oh, it's cold. It's chilly. It's 72. And I'm like, chilly is 72. Let's go. I'm in.
Well, like 90% of the country is under a winter storm. We've been having ice storms and stuff. But yeah. Okay, and we'll definitely get into Siakam later, but I want to get it.
Do you want to finish this off? Okay, so we both picked KC. We both picked the Bills. Dallas. We should probably talk about Dallas and the Packers. Because I listen, I knew the Cowboys were gonna cowboy at some point. I didn't think it was gonna be the first playoff game. They look atrocious. And I don't, I'm starting to believe, and listen, I'm starting to believe this. So people who clip our show, get ready. I'm starting to believe that Jerry Jones is cursed. And he's cursed because here's what I think he did. I think he made a deal with the devil to get that Super Bowl win for Barry Switzer. And until he passes on, the Cowboys will be cursed until he passes, because he made a deal with the devil to get Barry Switzer to stick it to Jimmy Johnson and say, see, any coach could take that team and win, because there's no explanation for, one, him moving to Barry Switzer and him actually winning a Super Bowl. And two, there's no explanation why this team with that roster, if you take that roster and you put it in any other city, they're Super Bowl favorites, and we're all going, oh yeah, they're in, like, no doubt. But what happens? We keep saying, well, it's that, like you even said, well, it's Dallas, Tone. It's Dallas, Tone. They're gonna lose, Tone. And I'm like, you're crazy. Not to the Packers. The Packers have. Oh, wait a minute.
Cowboys, Tone. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong, and not only whatever can go wrong will go wrong, it will go tragically wrong. So, Dak Prescott, who I think he had an MVP caliber season.
He did.
I think this was the best season of his career.
And how much better than Jones? Because they're like, look at the roster, right? The roster's fantastic. Like you said, if it was in any on paper, they're great. But I don't know. But it's also a blessing and a curse.
They're fantastic. And the fact that the playbook got open for Green Bay and Aaron Jones was running the football, there's no way for me to believe that if it wasn't the Cowboys, who have arguably the best edge rusher in the game in Parsons, who's multi-purpose. They got an all-pro cornerback who might be a little bit overrated, but he's still on an all-pro team. With all of that being said, you got one of the best offenses in the game. Why aren't these guys better in the playoffs? Is it because they think they're going to lose when they come into it? Because I think that's where Dak is with it. I don't think that Dak comes into it with the logic that we're going to win. Because if he did, then he would be more confident. You would see it like you saw it in October. You would see it like you saw it in September. You don't see it like that in the playoffs. In the playoffs, he looks like, I got to make sure that I get this right. He doesn't play like that in the regular season. And the Cowboys don't play like that in the regular season. They don't. With all of that being said, Tone, how many coaches are you going to fire? How many wide receivers are you going to replace? How many running backs are you going to replace? How many defensive coordinators are you going to replace? There's one constant in the Cowboys that's still there to this day. One constant. And as long as that's there, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think, to your point, Jay, from what we've seen, I'm not saying it's been their best season defensively, but it's been better defensively, and to see them just fall apart, like, that lack of confidence is contagious. And you just see Dak, like, typically you'll see his face kind of frustrated or like, but I felt like they're almost used to it at this point in the season. It's almost expected to see. And I guess moving forward, they're not going to fire McCarthy. That's come out. He's safe. Jerry's going nowhere. He's obviously safe.
Why, Tone?
Also ridiculous.
Yeah. Tone, why is this ridiculous though, Tone? I mean, how many coaches are we going to fire? Okay, with McCarthy getting fired, if I'm not mistaken, Tone, what's that, the third coach in like 6 years? Before Jayson, why am I thinking of his name? He's on TV now. The head coach that was there before, Jayson. Why is his name? Why am I drawing a blank on this?
McCarthy's been there 4 years, hasn't he? So they had coaches for one season each, and then they hired McCarthy.
He was the offensive coordinator for the Giants for a minute, and then he's Jason Garrett.
Jason Garrett, that's him. So Jason Garrett, McCarthy, who was before that. So I mean, we talking about a Cowboy. We talking about a Cowboys team. How many wide receivers do they need? CeeDee Lamb is awesome, right? CeeDee Lamb is awesome. How many edge rushers do they need? The play calling with Mike McCarthy, the clock management, okay, that's under question. Sure it is. But with that being said, you knew that when you hired him. You saw what he was when he was in Green Bay. You saw who he was, and you knew that when you hired him. So because of that, so now we're going to fire him. Tone, I understand y'all. I've always understood your philosophy. When you fail quick. Well, you knew who this dude was. It's not like you went out on a limb. You knew who he was.
I'm saying fire him because I said fire him. Don't hire him. So I'm just, for me, it was someone that I never would have hired in the first place. So I want them to correct that mistake. But then, who's to say they're not going to hire someone worse? So, okay, just roll with them. Because was it the coaching? Was it the players? No, it's the curse.
Pinpoint. Yeah. But we can't just, it's a business. So from that aspect, where are we taking it? What do you pinpoint? What was the main issue in this game? Because Dak's getting a lot of the flack. McCarthy's getting a lot of the flack. Obviously, CD isn't really to blame because it's up to Dak to get him the ball.
Right.
Parsons wasn't great. Overall, they were not a good team, and they played scared. So who does that come down from?
So we'll start the conversation with one thing and one thing only. In what universe or multi-universe are you comfortable with Dak Prescott throwing the ball 60 times? I'm all ears.
Well, no, but that was they had to throw the ball 60 times because they were down by so much so fast.
A lot of that came in the fourth quarter. Those 400
when I saw his attempts at 55, I was like, his arm's going to fall off. But then I was like, well, no, because I'm sure that wasn't the game script. But when you're down 100 points, you can't run the ball, and have to run the ball. So yes, you don't want him throwing the ball. But what were they down? They were down 30-0.
Yeah.
How did we get? And by the way, Tone, how did we get there? We got there with him throwing the football, pick sixes, interceptions to get them to the 3-yard line. And now they're up 2 scores. They're up 2.5 scores. So now how are we going to get back in this game? We got to get back in this game by him throwing the ball even more. When in reality, the plan should have been.
He brought them back.
Tone, that was, you know what that was at the end? That was that was respectable. That's all that was. Give me a break. Not
I got a call from a friend of mine in Dallas, and I'm like, yo, how you feeling after the game? And he was like,
I drank a beer.
What?
I drank another beer.
What?
3 beers.
Oh,
yeah.
What? That was them scoring touchdowns.
But to me, it sounds a lot like you guys are saying Dak's the primary issue from all we just talked about.
What are we doing, H? How many? At what point do we start to look at the source of the problem? We've already checked off every other box. We've got a different coach here.
Mm-hmm.
We got a new defensive coordinator.
But a new coach doesn't mean the right coach. Getting a new coach doesn't mean it's the right coach. Mark McCarthy, I'm sorry, I'll say it again, he's not the right coach. But do you not feel like they have do they not have, including Dak, do they not have a talented enough roster to make a deep run to at least the NFC Championship game?
It's 12-4 for 2 straight years, Tom. So it's obvious that they're good enough.
So if you look at
2 straight years.
So if you look at the makeup of their team, do they have wide receivers? Check.
Yeah.
Check.
Tight end, check. Offensive line, check. Defense, check. The quarterback, when you say it's Dak, well, hold on now. Is Dak not a top 15 quarterback in this league? I think pretty easily, because we have a very shortage of good quarterbacks. So unless you're going to find a way to get a Patrick Mahomes or a Justin Herbert or a Joe Burrow, which you're not, well, to say to put it on Dak, and I'm not saying it's not Dak as part of the problem, but Dak, you just said Dak had an MVP season. So I can't put it on the quarterback either. So if I have a good defense, right, a good enough defense to go that far, I have a good enough offense and all those pieces to go that far, then the only thing I can think of that can make a change is a coach. And I will look now. They also have a new QB, but look at, a lot of other teams, a new coach comes in, it's a new philosophy, it's a new scheme, it's a new whatever. And that's what gets them over the hump. Mark, I know I'm going to make a basketball reference, but Mark Jackson had the exact same team Steve Kerr had, right? And they just needed that coaching change. And I don't think Steve Kerr is a better coach than Mark Jackson, but it was a different philosophy that fit the players better, and that's what got them over the hump. Well, maybe that's what Dallas needs, is because as much as you want to blame Jerry and the curse, right? And me with my conspiracy theories, I want to say it's the curse of Barry Switzer, but he's not going anywhere. The team's not going anywhere. So if you want to make it, it's the only thing you can feasibly do to make a change. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Fluent. I was just going to say, I think another thing that maybe it's a conversation that we don't want to have is almost similar to what happens to the Sixers, right? Where we see them have a fantastic, even an MVP on their team, and yet in the postseason they fail. Not every team is built for the postseason. Sometimes that pressure, or maybe there isn't a close-knit, team unit. We don't know really what goes on in the locker room, but just to see the same thing fall every season, I don't know. But to me, I know Dak doesn't deserve full, blame at all. There's probably a lot of issues going on, but I think it might be something to consider, even though we know he's not going anywhere.
You brought up the Sixers. That's a great example. Make a coaching change and addition by subtraction.
Yeah, so we still have to see something, though. We still have to see what happens. We still have to see.
But they look better.
Embiid does look better.
They do.
And by the way, I was wrong. First of all, Mike McCarthy has been in Dallas for 4 years.
Yeah.
Not only has he been in Dallas for 4 years, they've won 12 games 3 of those 4 years.
There you go.
They're not an okay team. They're a damn good team. Why does this not translate to the playoffs? What's the problem?
Aaron Rodgers for how many years in Green Bay and could only get to 1 Super Bowl?
They were still in the NFC Championship. They were going deep into the playoffs. The Green Bay Packers. They still were doing that. We're talking about the San Francisco 49ers, for example. I'm going to bring my team up. Tone, the game plan isn't going to change. We still are going to do the same thing in the regular season that we did in the postseason. We're still going to run the football. We're still going to involve George Kittle. We're still going to involve Kittle. We're still going to involve Ayuk. We're still going to involve Debo. Our pass rush is still going to be good. None of that's going to change. The question is why doesn't this translate when Dak is thrown? I think he led the league in touchdowns this season that just passed. If we got a quarterback that's leading it was him and Brock Purdy at one point that were leading the league in touchdowns. If you got a guy who's leading the league in touchdowns, to your point, if this isn't Dallas and the Dallas Cowboys are now the Tennessee Titans and they're coming into the playoffs, why is it ridiculous for me to think that Dak, who just threw 3 touchdowns the week before, when he gets into the playoffs, why is he not able to do at least 3 touchdowns with no interceptions? Why can't he do that? What's the problem? Where are the schemes different now? Because this is a Green Bay team who, by the way, Tone, they snuck into the playoffs. It ain't like Green Bay was rolling into the playoffs. They snuck in.
Yeah, so the Bears had a chance to keep them out, and now they're probably going to
literally they snuck into the
Green Bay's probably going to the Super Bowl. I'm telling you. So let me just quickly say, because you said something that I want to stop, because the difference when you say, well, he led the league in touchdowns, it's the same thing as when someone said to me, well, Tua led the league in passing yards. Yeah, there's a lot of bad defenses you play in a regular season, right? There's a reason why it gets tougher to do everything in the playoffs is you're playing the best teams. Mm-hmm. And even Green Bay, although they snuck in, they looked good early. They had, some stuff there in the middle. Don't forget there was an Aaron Jones injury, which, as you saw against Dallas, Aaron Jones is, right? Like, that is the guy. It's like Saquon Barkley last year, right? He is the guy that makes that team go. He looked phenomenal. Like, he looked like excellent. And so the last, it's not the last one, but I do want to jump, right? Because I had the Eagles. I thought, regardless of injuries, regardless of anything, I had the Eagles. You had the Bucs.
Wow, Jay.
Jay had the Bucs.
That's impressive.
As you know, how I feel about, Butter Mayfield, and I moved him up to Margarine Mayfield. And for those, I have
to move him up a little bit more, Tone.
Mm-hmm.
You might have to move him up a little bit more.
You have to do it. You have to do it.
People messaged me and they said, hey, you guaranteed an Eagles win. And you said, if the Bucs win, you were going to come on the show this week with a Baker Mayfield jersey on. I tried. It was 2 days. It was -20. There's a lot of snow. No one would deliver. So I did the next best thing that I could. Instead of bringing a jersey, I brought the coach that drafted Baker Mayfield into the NFL, who also told me that I was wrong about Baker Mayfield. So to take my lumps, to eat the crow, to all that bad stuff, please let me introduce my friend Hue Jackson to the panel, and he's going to tell me why I was so wrong about Baker Mayfield, among other things.
Not only if I'm not mistaken, Coach, I was actually there when you told him that he was wrong about that. I was sitting right there I was sitting right there. This is the guy who coached him, and he's telling you you're wrong about him. Tone is not trying to hear that.
Anthony, tell me again why you really thought that it was a mistake to say shake and bake.
There was. What do I know? You're a coach. I don't know. I should have listened to you. But
you watch a lot of football. You know what it proves, though, more than anything, is that these quarterbacks, right now I'm looking at the quarterback that's at the Panthers, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's saying he's a bust. He's not a bust. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you get in the wrong situation with the wrong people coaching you and the wrong support, and all of a sudden it just don't work out. So I hope it works out for him too, mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm not surprised by anything Baker's doing. I think, he's gotten with a team, and it's taken him a minute. He's bounced around a little bit, but he's had some spurts in there where people say, wow, this guy, there's something in there. We see something. There's a reason why the guy was the first overall pick of the draft. And so I think people are starting to see it, and I'm happy for him, very happy for him. But at the same time, I'm not surprised by anything he's doing.
Coach,
what did you see that I couldn't see? Sorry, Jay. It's because I don't see that what you guys see.
Why? Because you have a bias. You have to step out of it, Fluent.
One more time for the people in the cheap seats, H. They ain't hear you in the back. One more time, H.
Step out of that bias. Real quick.
I think what people really see is the arrogance sometimes, and they really see, the personality, because that's what makes Baker Baker. And to me, that's why I thought he could survive in Cleveland. It takes a different type of personality to play quarterback in Cleveland because of all the history of the quarterbacks that's played there. And so he was built for that. You need that kind of mentality. You're not worried about all of that. And so I knew eventually he would end up on his feet just because that's who he is. He's going to prove to you that he is better than what people think he is. And there was never a question of his arm talent. He can throw a football with anybody. I've always said that. He's proven that. But I think you got to get around the right people and the right circumstances. And I think he's done that in Tampa Bay, and he's doing a heck of a job.
Coach, my grandmother told me when I was a kid, and I've said this to Tone a bunch of different times, and he just won't buy into it. My grandmother told me when I was a kid, anybody can train a secretary. You can screw them up too, though. You can screw them right up, right? And you just alluded to something that's very important. A player at the pro level, there's a thin line between confidence and cockiness.
Yes.
Baker Mayfield, his confidence is what gets him to where he needs to be. If I'm not mistaken, Tone, I think he set the rookie record for touchdowns when he first came into the league. Where do you think that came from, Tone? That came from him walking on the field, just like Jimmy Butler, who doesn't blow you away with any of his skill set. He doesn't blow you away with his athleticism. But when Jimmy Butler walks on the floor, he is convinced it's not one of you dudes out here that's better than me. Sure, it's not one of you. When Baker Mayfield walks on the field, I'm the baddest mofo out here, and it's not one of you guys that can tell me different. If you get a coach that starts to tinker with his game, that starts to put him in a different system where he's not accustomed to doing what he knows how to do best, you can make him look like he shouldn't be in the league, which is exactly what happened. Meanwhile, somebody who actually coached him, who saw him and was handling him the right way, was telling you, Tone, this dude is the goods. You're like, no, he isn't. And look where we are. Look where we are. Coach, the reason why I'm giving him the business.
I'll tell you what it was. I'll tell you what it was. And Coach and I did a lot of shows together, and he knows I'm very passionate about the things I believe in. And I always, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And I was not going to get fooled by the Browns twice because I just thought this was Johnny Manziel 2.0. And you know what? I'm here to say it. I messaged Baker and I told him personally I was wrong. I was wrong. He's better than I thought. And that's why I messaged Coach frantic. I was like, Coach, do you mind just coming on? Because I got to eat some crow. I'm not going to have the Mayfield jersey. So who better than you to tell me what? Yeah, I could take it from you. I could take it from you that I'm wrong.
Anthony, I just think there's a deeper thing here because when you look at, let's talk about Cleveland, right? And you watch Joe Flacco come in and play, and Cleveland plays a style that's a little different, which is great for them. They play with 3 tight ends from time to time, and Joe Flacco could do that. I'm sure hopefully Deshaun Watson even takes it to another level, but that's not who Baker is. You know, so they were about to make Baker something he wasn't, and it didn't fit. So they ended up getting rid of him. But when you look at it, you really look at it and go back when he was really good there. They played in 11 personnel and 12 personnel, and the ball went all over the place, and he was in shotgun, and away you go. So the style matters. You know, it really matters for a quarterback. And I hope a lot of people see that more than anything. You have to let these players be who they are in order to get the value out of them. And I think when people do that, I think great things happen.
Tone, you know what that sounds like right there? That sounds like the coach down in Tampa Bay turned them loose.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like he did. It sounds like he turned them loose as
Yeah.
opposed to putting them on a short leash. Or if you do this wrong, now I'm looking over my shoulder if I throw the ball out of bounds or if I throw an interception. You turn them loose, a guy like that. You can't do that with everybody.
No.
But Baker is one of those guys. You can't put him on. You got to turn him loose. So I'm not surprised, Tone. I'm not. And I was telling you this, but even after Coach said, I'm still telling him, Coach. This was after you had already told him. I'm still telling him, and he's not buying it. Here we are.
I still don't. I want him to go into Detroit and throw 5 interceptions. I'm not going to lie.
But even if he did do that, Tone, that's who he is, and that's okay. Because we didn't have a problem with Brett Favre being the gunslinger that he is.
I'm a Bears fan, so I had a lot of problems with Brett Favre.
Right.
Now, speaking of the Bears, what are they going to do with that great quarterback they have over there?
Keep screwing him up, Coach. That's what they're going to do with him.
Did you see who they interviewed today for OC?
Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury.
I'm so
Can I
sorry.
make a call? Are you busy?
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not, but everybody's connecting the dots because everybody think Caleb Williams, should be the guy, and I don't agree with that. You drafted this young player. He's one of the most talented players in all of pro football. He can do things a lot of guys can't do. And so we're saying he should get out of Chicago. That makes no sense to me. They have a chance to build a football team that is second to none. They have 2 first-round draft picks.
Two top 10 draft picks.
And you're talking about getting rid of this. So if you build around this quarterback and you go take these 2 picks and do the right things with them and fix your team, do you understand what the Bears could be?
I'll say this part, and you and I did a lot of finance talk on our.
Here we go, Coach.
A part of our show was the Coach and AK, and we did football and finance. And I'll say this from a football perspective, and Coach will back me up on this. What they're looking at and saying, we're going to have to pay Justin in a year or 2, which makes it harder. So do we? I'm not saying they're doing this, but the question is, do we start over that clock? That financial clock with a rookie quarterback, move Justin for what you can get, plus you have those 2 top 10 picks, and just restart it. The problem is that's what the Bears always do. It's they draft a quarterback, they bring in a coach. That's not his quarterback because he wasn't there when they drafted him, so he doesn't work well with them. So then they get rid of the quarterback, they bring in another quarterback. That doesn't work, so they fire the coach, they bring in another coach. The coach says, well, that's not the quarterback I drafted. They get rid of that. And it's this endless cycle. So what I would like to see them do is stop the cycle, stop the insanity, and hey, we've seen Justin, and you're right, Coach. Justin can do a lot of things. You saw what he did when he had 1 capable receiver.
Right.
1.
Right.
He put an offensive line in front of that running back who's also pretty damn good. Shore up that defense was significantly better than we thought it was going to be. There's where some draft picks and go. And I'm with you, Coach. Of course, I want them to be good. And you're in a division. You better hurry up because now they got another quarterback who looks like another 20 years of a great quarterback. It's going to drive me nuts.
Well, I think the biggest problem that people got to understand is they got to ask themselves, where is he in the quarterbacks within the division? And where does he fit overall with all the quarterbacks? Is he top 10? Could he ascend and be in the top 5? Could he be top? I think this young player is, he's on a different team than what Lamar Jackson has at Baltimore, and so, but you just said it, you just watch an emerging defense at Chicago once they got Sweat, and he is, the defense had personality. The offense has a personality when he's playing because he runs. That's Lamar Jackson 2.0, however you want to look at it. But I think he's his own man. But I think he's a different type of player who has arm talent, who has passing skills. And so, right coach, right environment, right support, this guy is he's gonna go through the roof. And I think that's what people got to see. I'd rather pay him right now because I might not have to pay him among the elite.
And yes,
and
exactly.
Then, but maybe a couple of years from now I might have to. And if I hit this right and I get these other pieces and put on this team, look out.
Which you brought up a really interesting point, Coach, when you talk about guys, who they are. What's the meeting like as a coach when you bring in a new guy? You've seen film, you've seen him in practice. You're looking at, let's say, for example, Justin Fields. Who do you think he is moving forward? Because I don't think they screwed him up yet. I don't think he's ruined yet. So if you're coming into this situation, who do you think he is?
I think when I look at him, the closest comparison is Lamar Jackson. But I really think he's probably, and I hate to say it because I think Lamar can throw the football. I'm not saying that. I just think his passing skills are a little bit different because of his background than what Lamar's was. And so I think this kid has tremendous upside if people groom him that way.
Right.
But we're talking about possibly a 2-time MVP in this league. And if you have a guy like that and you think he can ascend to that, I don't even think about trading him. I think about marrying him with the right person so I can let these skills start to show themselves for what they are. And if you do that, you're going to be the talk of the town.
And you've told me this a bunch of times, and I did listen to this part. A coach, an OC, a QB coach can make or break a quarterback just as quickly as they can break them. And that's what the Bears have failed to do historically, and a lot of teams have failed to do, is put that right person, to your point, with that quarterback and help them develop. Because no matter how good they are coming out of college, you need the right situation too, right?
Right. Well, he just mentioned, when they come in, that's the variable. It's the coach, the coordinator. So what does the head coach want the offense to be? And normally it's not really about the quarterback, but it's supposed to be. It shouldn't be about anybody else. It might be about the head coach. I mean, I'm going to go back to Baker. Kevin Stefanski is one of the best offensive coordinators in pro football, but his style doesn't fit what you have there. And so it didn't fit with Baker. So they said, bye Baker, and that's what it is. And I think this happens to a lot of quarterbacks in the National Football League, and so you get to a place they think, because of everything's been said, you can throw the ball 40 times a game or whatever all this is. And you might not be ready for that in the National Football League. And so your value diminishes. And then everybody, the fans and everybody else get on you. And all of a sudden you don't wake back up because you bounce around team to team to team. And then all of a sudden you might bounce out of the league. And that happens a lot to these guys.
With that being said, Coach, I feel like more young quarterbacks potentially are ruined than developed. Is it fair to say that these young quarterbacks can stand to sit behind a vet for a year, maybe even 2 years, just to get to know, one, the pro game, number two, to learn how to be a pro, and I just mean throwing the football, I mean being a pro. Is that fair?
Oh, it's very fair. When you think of the great ones, and I know Lamar's different, but Patrick Mahomes, that's what he did. That's what some really good quarterbacks did. We're looking at the coming of the kid in Green Bay, sitting and watching and learning and soaking up that knowledge. But what people don't understand, keeping those quarterbacks in the same system, keeping the same type of structure and infrastructure around those young men gives them a chance to grow. I think there's probably a ton of history that says that is the best way to grow a quarterback in the National Football League. Green Bay is showing you what it looks like, because that kid sat for a long time. There was talk before the season started that, oh, he can't play. Oh, he's going to be another bust. And now all of a sudden this guy's playing. He looks like Aaron Rodgers 2.0 playing quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. So why is that? Well, everybody should just go do a deep dive on that and they'll figure it out. Go do a deep dive on Patrick Mahomes. You figure it out. Are they outliers? Yes, Lamar Jackson's an outlier, but there's not a whole bunch of them that are like that.
But that goes to the lack of patience, right? Because it's a win now situation. But if you look like I can't believe I'm about to praise Green Bay, but if you look at Green Bay, right? People forget Favre actually started in Atlanta. and came over to Green Bay. So he had actually been in the league, right? He takes over in Green Bay. They draft Aaron Rodgers, and everyone's like, ooh, like, what are they doing? You know, it caused some controversy. Obviously, the breakup wasn't beautiful, but Aaron Rodgers gets to sit behind Brett for a couple of years. Then he comes in. Obviously, we saw what Aaron Rodgers did. Then they draft Jordan Love, and everyone goes, uh-oh. And even that breakup, not great. But for the organization, well, now Jordan Love comes in, and oh, look at that. Now they're looking at, what are they going to be, 40, if he pans out, 40 years of great quarterback play in Green Bay? Maybe it pays to be a little bit patient. And to your point, even Patrick Mahomes, I think, sitting behind Alex Smith did wonders because Smith is a great quarterback that I think is very underrated, but a true professional, I think, who helped Patrick Mahomes, maybe unlike Brett and Aaron. But I think that served him wonders because who knows what Patrick Mahomes would have been if the Bears had drafted him and they just threw him into the mix and he got sacked, 100 times that season. He might have been a different player.
Absolutely.
40 years.
That's key.
40 years, coach. 40
years. But you said something that's so key. It's go back and look at those quarterbacks you just named. You named Aaron Rodgers, who probably going to be a Hall of Famer. You named Alex Smith, who was a tremendous football player. And I'm sure there's other studies that way, So those guys watch some of the best guys in the league do their job every day. And that was passed down. And so the reason why a team keeps the guy and lets the other one go, because somebody sees something in practice or somebody sees something that this guy is going to have a similar trajectory. And so here it is. And I don't think people really dive into those things enough to understand it. And I think that's why a lot of these, organizations fail when they draft quarterbacks, because they really, and it is, you said it, it's about the fans, it's the pressure, is we drafted this guy, he was so great here at Alabama, he should be out there right now playing. Some of these guys are not ready to play the first year they come into the league. It takes
or second. And that's okay, coach.
And it might not even be third. It's okay.
And that's okay. That's
why I love the way Green Bay does it. And I know you hate me saying Green Bay because they knew what Aaron Rodgers was.
I'm warming up.
They knew what Aaron Rodgers was, and they drafted a guy, and they didn't expect him to play year one. They didn't expect him to play year two. They didn't expect him to play year three. Here it is. And this is the way it should be.
Plus, also, coach, I mean, this isn't like working at General Motors or somewhere like that. Like, I can't do this for 40 years.
Right.
Yeah.
I gotta bring somebody in because eventually this guy's gonna get old. That's the way this works. Steve Young stepped behind Joe Montana for 5 years.
I'm dying to hear what she thinks.
Yeah.
No, I barely get in a word between these two, but but no, like what you said right off bat, coaches, you mentioned how I think not only fans, but also different franchises, they kind of roll out a quarterback early. We've even seen that with like moving over to the NBA with Scoot Henderson, right? Where they're already counting this kid out because he's had, certain bad games. They've sent him down to the G League, but all these things are only going to benefit him. I mean, look at Steph Curry. It took him years before we started to see that superstar factor. And now he has the same amount of rings as LeBron James. So I think we have to have a patience, but I also understand that franchises don't always have the luxury of having a quarterback over like Aaron Rodgers. Sometimes you just have to implement them right away. And like we've talked about, that can screw them up. But yeah, I appreciate your insight there. And we actually have a chat for you if you're willing to answer it from one of our viewers. This is from Drink More Water. He said, welcome, coach. You've been in a lot of places throughout your long coaching career. Which place and or year has been your favorite to coach and why?
My favorite, and it will always be, is working at when they were the Oakland Raiders, working for Al Davis. It was a tremendous time in my life and my career. My first head coaching opportunity for the late great Al Davis. And I came to a team that was 31st in offense. When I got there as the coordinator, we went from 31st to 6th. We had some tremendous players, and Al Davis truly believed in speed. If you were on his team, you could run. And we had a bunch of guys that could run. And the next year, we thought we were poised. I became the head coach to have an unbelievable year. And then Darren McFadden got hurt, and Jason Campbell was our quarterback, got hurt. We brought in Carson Palmer, and we the last game of the year, we played the Chargers. We win the game. We host the playoff game at home. We didn't win. We lost 35-26, whatever it was. But that was a unbelievable time because at the time the Raiders wasn't doing very well, and we really set that in motion, and it was fun. It was exciting. It was great football. And we had some tremendous players.
Coach, how's your crew doing down in school? Because I know the college game is way different than the pro game. How's the transition been for you?
Oh, it's a different game, as you said. You know, it's a way different. I have to catch myself sometimes. There's a lot more things you can do, let me say, from an offensive standpoint, you know, that you can't do in the National Football League. But at the same time, I've had to grow. You know, it's forced me to grow because I've had to learn all these new rules, how things are done, and teaching at this level is different. You know, there's a lot more patience that you have to have because guys don't pick it up like that fast enough. So I've had to adjust some of the things that I believe in and how I normally do things because, you know, they're trying to get to the National Football League. These players, the guys in the National Football League, they're trying to feed their families. But this thing of NIL and all this other stuff, portal and all this other stuff going on, boy, it's making it somewhat like the National Football League. So
they're gonna be worried about feeding their families too.
Man, some of the money that's being passed around at these schools now is amazing to me.
Oh yeah.
I knew you liked the Raiders, but I'll be honest, I thought you were going to say the Bengals. I thought you would have,
I had 3 stints at the Bengals, and it's a close second for me, a close second. But when you work for Al Davis, who was the defensive coordinator, and he let you run the offense and the team, and you understand his greatness, when the owner can sit with you and talk 3 hours about football, offensive football. You know, he taught me something. I forget which game it was. I love to run trick plays, reverses, and those things. And we ran a reverse. I think it was against Seattle. And the game before we ran a reverse, and I never forget going in his office. He said, "You tell me something. Why don't you ever run a reverse back to back?" I said, "Oh, Al, you can't do that. The other team will know. And boy, you just ran one." He goes, "They don't know. Just one day try it." And I'm like, you know what? Maybe you got a point. We played Seattle. I called one reverse one way, went for 17. Called the next one play. It went for 33 yards. And all I could do is see Al Davis.
Thank you.
You can see
how much he was into the game.
Just gives you the nod.
Oh, yeah.
You doing Madden, not in real life.
But sometimes I wonder, like even watching Jerry Jones or just some of the owners, like it kind of probably feels like that in a way. I mean, it's your money that you're squandering, so probably hurts a lot more too. But what a view for sure.
And they have opinions now. Don't think they don't.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Coach, I know you. I don't know how long we have you, but
we got him. We got for like 7 more minutes.
Okay, we had one more chat for you. If you're willing to answer. This is from Nick. He said, Coach Jackson, CJ Stroud or Jordan Love? Who are you feeling right now?
That is a tough question. But when you look at it, so here it is again, the fit for CJ Stroud, the head coach, the coordinator, the quarterback coach is showing itself. I mean, he has been one of the best young players, arguably could be in the MVP conversation.
Yep.
Right. If he doesn't miss the 2 games or 1 game, whatever he missed, he might be the MVP of the league. But I would probably say CJ Stroud for me, just because he's doing it as a rookie and he's doing it at a high level. And I don't think he's going to slow down one bit. I think he's going to continue to play well.
Yeah.
They're building something special down there in Houston. We had a conversation before the season started, Coach, and I thought that Houston would be one of the worst teams in the league, but I thought that they would be one of the more competitive teams just because their defense, just because their head coach used to be the defense coordinator for the 49ers. So I got a bit of a soft spot for him. However, watching CJ and the way that they're grooming him, putting him in a lot of 3-step drops, right? Not just putting him in a lot of 3-step drops, a lot of rollouts and expanding his game. With that, compounding his athleticism, I think that they're putting him in a position where he can just flourish. They're not just making him a pocket passer because that's not just his game.
Right. Well, the question was coming out, would he run? Right. I mean, you didn't see a lot of that at Ohio State. I mean, but you see him make very quick decisions and he'll take off and run down the field and he doesn't look like he's not afraid to do that. So that part of his game has really helped him tremendously. And like you said, they've done a lot of different things with him. So he's showing off a lot of different ability, and he's having a tremendous year.
Sure. Absolutely.
Are you able to say, since you and Fluent have the Baker connection, who do you have this weekend? Are you rolling with the Bucs?
Well, one thing I know about the Bucs, they're gonna play great defense, right? Yeah. And I think they match up. When the pro football is a game of matchups, and so you have Mike Evans, who's a tremendous talent. You got Goodwin. You have these two young players that just, I don't know where they came from this past week, that can really run. So it's going to be interesting, but the grit, the toughness of Detroit being at home, the fans, is that going to be too much for them to overcome? Now, the Rams got close, really close. I think Tampa Bay is a little bit better than the Rams overall as a football team. I think it's going to be a tremendous game, but somehow, some way, I think Detroit comes out ahead in this one.
I have a follow-up question, and it goes to, there was a reporter who asked Coach Bowles how his team was going to fare because it's so cold in Detroit, and he was a gentleman. He was a gentleman. He politely said, "Well, they play indoors." My question is this: what's like the funniest or worst question a reporter has ever? Other than me, don't bring up anything I asked.
I've never had one of those situations happen. I can't think of. Look, during my time in Cleveland, I was doing so much losing, Anthony, that it didn't even feel right. Any question somebody asked me, I wanted to cry, because I don't think people know how hard it is to stand in the face of losing like that. But no, I've never had a question asked of me that way about you play. Well, how you gonna handle the 13 degrees? But I love the way he said we're gonna be in it for about 20 seconds, and we do play indoors.
Hey, Coach, what's the game plan for next week? I don't know, to win. What are you talking about?
I know that's always the
we lost 6 straight. What do you mean? What's the game plan to win? What are we talking about? But I can't say that, because I'm a professional, so I can't say that.
Right.
I'm trying to be cool.
Although recently, coaches and different team members have been kind of lashing out more and more. We're hearing people just get so tired of the media questions, because some of them are,
well, Mike Tomlin didn't even let them ask the question.
No, sometimes, and that was interesting just to see him turn and walk out.
He was so done. Yeah.
But what's interesting? Those guys have earned the right to do that. I don't think people get the enormous pressure that these coaches have to deal with when these questions come at you every single day. For a coach to have a slip up every now and then, man, I hope people understand that they have to do this every day. It's not, you don't get an off day. And if something comes off a little wrong, I hope people give them grace, because they deserve it, because it is hard, because sometimes you don't feel human when certain questions are asked, because like you just said, you would hope you know the answer to that, but you're asking me this, and then they'll turn around and ask you the same question a different way. And no, you're not going to answer it, and they keep pushing, and that's hard. That's really hard. And they deal with those coaches. All the money they get paid, they deserve it. Let me tell you that much.
And then they got to deal with players who message you at 3:00 in the morning and tell you they're open.
That's right. I had one. Love you to death. But
I tell them that is my favorite story, Coach, because I know you got to go, but that is my favorite story. So Coach told me a story. I always call him Chad 85, because I don't speak Spanish. Can you tell him, like, can you just tell him it's better? It's better.
There were days, there were nights that my phone would ring at 2:15. It could be anywhere from 1:00 in the a.m. to 4:00 in the a.m. And it's Chad Johnson. He would just call, and you see the phone ringing, and you go, "Oh man, something's going on," because it's so early in the morning. You pick it up because you're concerned, and you go, "Hello," and he would say, "I'm open, 7-Eleven," and hang up the phone. Are you kidding?
Throw me the damn ball.
Coach, just make
Coach,
sure they
I'm trying to sleep, Coach. I'm trying to sleep. Okay, I got so much other stuff on my mind. You don't think I want to throw you the ball? Because I do.
We're gonna get it to you, but let me get it to you when I get there.
How about that? Is that okay? Is that too much to ask? I'll be at work in a couple of hours. But in the meantime, if I can get some sleep, thank you very much. Unbelievable.
I wish I would have known that story before, because I would have been on the phone with my point guard. I'm open. Because just
Great.
Quick. Coach, I love you, man.
It's great. It's good seeing you again, Coach.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
And I think that we've converted my man over here. He's going to get on the Baker.
We're getting through to him.
Slowly
but surely.
Hey, they're playing Detroit. If they end up playing Green Bay, trust me, I will be cheering for Baker Mayfield and the Bucs if they both.
What I would like, if that's the game that it ends up being, me and you need to go to the game.
100%.
That's what we need to do.
We are long overdue. We are long overdue.
And be there.
All right, you got it. It's
all righty.
It's done. Absolutely.
All right.
Coach,
to the fam, it's a pleasure seeing you again. As always.
Thanks, guys, take care. It's nice seeing all of you
guys.
Absolutely,
right.
Coach. Absolutely.
Have a good one, Coach.
That's dope, man. Tony, I didn't even know he was gonna be here.
Yeah,
that's so dope.
that was awesome.
That's so dope, man.
Thank
Just
you.
When I figured out I couldn't get the jersey, I'm like, I need to do something, because you and I just had this conversation. I am a man of my word, and my word is bond, and I might not have a lot of things. I'll be like Tony Montana. I got two things in this world, and you know what they are, and I break them for no one. I'm not going to say that. I don't want to get vulgar, but I break them for no one. So I was like, all right, I can't get the jersey. What can I do? So I called up Coach. I'm like, I know it's short notice, and he's like, and it's still, I love that he still calls me Anthony, which is my favorite thing. He's like, he goes, for you, he goes, he goes, and he felt bad. He's like, all I can give you is half an hour. I'm like, I will take it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Coach. Let's run it. So, so that's why I will say we did reach out to Baker. We're trying to get Baker, but he's a little bit tougher to get on short notice.
We didn't really set a great platform for him. Come on here.
He's a little busy. He's a little busy. But hey, I did try.
One day we'll get him on. But all right, we have a bunch of chats. Yes, we're still going to get into NBA, and yes, we'll still go through these NFL. Maybe we'll save that till the end now. But let's get through some of these chats. Green, thank you for the super chat. How great would Steve McNair be in today's NFL?
Wow.
That's a great question.
Yes,
that would have been great for Coach, and he would be phenomenal, because he is like what we would consider the prototype today. Can run, got a big arm, and was strong, and he was big and strong enough to take the hits. Right, like sometimes you see like a Justin Fields or even Lamar Jackson too, right? And you're like, right? He could take. I feel bad for some of the DBs hitting him. If he made it in past that first line of linebackers, those DBs would feel him.
Which is not that much today as it was 20 years ago when he was getting chased around by Ray Lewis, and he was getting chased around by Michael Strahan and guys like that. He's not getting hit like that today, so he would be much more durable, and I think he'd be awesome in today's game. Steve McNair would be holy.
They're protecting the quarterbacks. Some say a little too much. It'd be perfect for a guy like him. Absolutely.
Yes, he would.
Football college. CF Candy. Fluent. Did you see who the Bears just interviewed?
Yes. I tell you right now, if they hire Cliff Kingsbury, I might listen. As you found out earlier yesterday, Mrs. Fluent, although she's a Bengals fan, she does like the Packers. That's her NFC, like how you have a crush on the Broncos. That's like her NFC crush is the Packers. Yeah. I might. If they hire Kingsbury, I
heard all I can say, H, is I heard a flip out yesterday. If I'm not sure if Tone can handle it. Tone, can you handle it? Yes or no?
No, I cannot.
Okay, so maybe my view is just a bit tainted, but obviously Hard Knocks came out with the Cardinals in season. Did you guys watch that?
I watched it a couple times.
Yeah, and I'm how did he get a job in the NFL in the first place? And this is purely interest. I'm not trying to be.
He was what they thought would be the perfect coach because of the style. I believe either he was his college coach or the style of play fit Kyler Murray's. So they're like, okay, we're going to bring those two together. But he never there was no reason to believe
because he didn't have a tenure in the NFL. I mean, he wasn't an assistant coach, right?
Him not being an assistant coach, I don't think that's a big deal that he didn't coach at the pro level. It's the issue is what his track record was, and it translated from college to the pros.
Yeah,
what you saw him doing in the pros, that's exactly what he was doing in college, where he'd start out hot and then it would just fizzle.
Because he doesn't make adjustments. Every second half of his every season and every level he's played has been.
That's who he is. And if he comes to the Bears, it's gonna look fantastic early. And great. It's gonna look fantastic early.
We'll start off 6-2 and then finish 9-8.
You got the right guy. We got the right guy. And I can hear Tone screaming from the heavens. No, we don't. I'm telling y'all. No, do not buy into this. No, we do not. And then when they go 4-8 in the last 12, and Tones, I told you. What did I tell you guys?
Yeah.
None of you would listen to me.
Fool's gold.
Yeah. I don't even think, for you, Fluent, I hope that, other options come through, but we'll see. Double P, I thought the Cowboys broke the curse with Jimmy Johnson, but I guess there's one curse Jerry Jones will never overcome, and that's the karma for Tom Landry.
It wasn't. That was not karma. And no, it was not. It was time for Tom Landry to go. It was definitely time for him to go. The Cowboys were they were the Titanic. It was time for them to, now don't get me wrong, there's no right way to fire somebody. There is none. There is no right way to fire a guy. And Tom Landry had been there for 30 years. I get that. Only except it was time to move on. The Cowboys were a sinking ship. They were terrible. And with all of that being said, it was time to move on from them. Jimmy Johnson came in there and he turned that thing around. In fact, he should have never left. But Jimmy Johnson told us that he had planned on leaving anyway. He wasn't going to be there longer than 5 seasons anyway. But I do think that they could have gotten maybe another year out of him. I think that was a little premature.
Okay. Angie, hey fam, how y'all doing? Flu got another one. What?
Another one.
Another one.
Mm-hmm.
Another one.
I guess another one.
No. Sorry. Yes, Angie is a Packers fan, and so she's rubbing it in of Favre Rodgers now love.
Yeah.
Tone, can you handle it? 40 years of quarterbacking, Tone? Oh my God.
Yeah, he can't.
How nuts is that? I mean, we go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers now to Jordan Love.
Like, do you understand there are teams, mine being one of them, who in those 40 years that they've had 3 quarterbacks, we've had 40 quarterbacks and one and can't find, and we're not the only ones. We're one of the worst, don't get me wrong, but there's been teams that cannot get a quarterback, and these guys have just been like, one, just replace them with the next one.
I love Jay Cutler, Tone. You were not a Jay Cutler fan. I love Jay Cutler.
I listen, I'm a huge fan of Jay Cutler's, but he got a raw deal because of his facial kind of expressions and his demeanor. People thought he didn't care. And let me tell you something. I only had one conversation with Jay Cutler, but I will tell you this. He cared and knew football as good, if not better, than anyone I've ever met. He had an arm where he could make every single throw, but that was also his downside, is because he knew I could throw this ball and hit a peanut. So he would throw it into double and triple coverage because he knew he could make the throw, and he just couldn't always do that. And sometimes the wide receivers didn't help him. But he also is the one that, look at all the OCs he had. Look at all the guys that went through Chicago coaching OC, quarterback coaches. Just go look at the list, and then you'll go, oh, you can't be a good, consistent, winning football player. And then he also he did have a bit of a bad attitude, like the fact that when Devin Hester became a wide receiver, he's like, I don't care if you're open, I'm not throwing you the ball. Okay, that wasn't right. But when Mike Martz was his OC, remember the Greatest Show on Turf from St. Louis? He got Jay Cutler killed. So, but my point was, the Bears have just gone through, other teams have gone through all these quarterbacks, and these guys just have one after the other, and it's good for them. Good for them. Good for them.
Nick, thank you so much. Good to be back. Good to see you guys too. 80-foot thoughts on Jared Mayo as the Pats head coach. I love it. What do you guys think?
I don't hate it. I think it's a good thing. I mean, he's been with them for quite a while. Don't get me wrong, H. Like I just said, you having NFL coaching experience. I mean, I don't think that makes you an NFL coach because we've seen plenty of NFL coaches with coaching experience and are garbage. So that I don't think that matters. But he seems to know the game and he seems to know personnel. So he knows that system in New England. He knows the New England way, and because of that, I think he's going to flourish there. I do. But I think that he's another one who he needs to get the right pieces around him. He definitely needs to get the right pieces around him.
So I'm go back to that one for a second because I'm torn on it. On one side, could this be the second coming of Coach Ryans in Houston? Maybe. Could it be a guy who's been in the organization long enough that is going to listen and do what Robert Kraft says, which is something that Kraft wanted, and that we found out later that him and Coach Belichick were butting heads. I hope it's not the latter, because if it is, it's going to be ugly. Anytime an owner brings in like a yes man coach, it rarely works out. I don't think it's ever.
Mayo doesn't strike me as a yes man.
I don't think so either. Those are the two things I've heard. I'm hoping it's more Coach Ryans than that.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Sports PSP, good to see you. Thoughts on McCarthy staying as the head coach in Dallas? Yeah,
I think we talked. We talked on that. I believe it shouldn't happen. He thinks good.
Okay, and I want to see it because we'll just see the same thing happen to the Cowboys.
It makes it easier. It makes it easier for the front end.
Yeah. Easier road. Which NFL player would you rather be, LT or Ray Lewis?
This is easy for me. Lawrence Taylor is the best defensive player I've ever seen. I think he's the best defensive player in NFL history. I never seen a guy affect an offense like him. I've seen Ray Lewis I've seen him affect offenses just from his pass rush. Lawrence Taylor, what his ability was, how he could switch positions, how he could drop in coverage, how he could cover tight ends, how he could get to the quarterback, how he made it clear from the quarterback, I don't care about anybody else, just keep him away from me. That kind of effect that you have on an offense wrecks your offense. He's the best defensive player I've ever seen.
The only LT that you can call LT in the NFL, the only LT is Lawrence Taylor. And with all due respect, and I love Ray Lewis, I think he is phenomenal. Lawrence Taylor is the greatest football player to ever step on a football field, period, at any position. Like, we call Tom Brady the GOAT, but let's be clear, Tom Brady is the GOAT quarterback. Lawrence Taylor and then Jerry Rice are the greatest football players to ever step on a football field, and Lawrence Taylor is number one for me. So that makes it makes that decision easier for me to say LT, but that's not taking away from Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis was him, as Fluent Jr. would say to me. He was him.
That's a legit argument, Tom. I will not argue that because Lawrence Taylor, you can definitely make the argument that he's the best football player in NFL history. 100%. He's definitely, in my estimation, he's the best defensive player in NFL history.
That's why I said he's the best. He's the best defensive player. Tom Brady's the best. Tom Brady's the best quarterback. Jerry Rice is the best wide receiver. But I also think Jerry Rice can be in that conversation. But it's LT for me. Right. LT for me.
And then Devontae just became a member. Shout out to you. Football. Would agree with Coach about keeping JF1 except Caleb, which we talked about.
Yes.
And agree.
Except Caleb.
Double P, I can't wait to see Fluent's face when Baker wins Super Bowl 58. No joke, that's my Super Bowl pick at the moment. I think these playoffs are the wild, wild west.
We do not hear.
I'm a 49er fan, so I ain't trying to hear that. But
yeah.
To see Tone's face if there's a parade in Tampa with Butter as the quarterback.
I can't. Now,
can you handle it, Tone? Can you handle it, Tone?
I will say this: the only positive side would be that if they do make it to the Super Bowl, I'll probably I'll get Coach to take me there first class, so it'd be nice. They already offered to take me to the one game, so I'm gonna hold you to it.
Where is the Super Bowl, by the way?
Super Bowl this year
Vegas,
is
right?
Is it in Vegas? I thought it was in.
I'm sorry, I
thought it was in Miami.
No, it was in Miami. It was in Miami a couple of years ago.
I thought it was in Vegas. But...
It might be
okay.
in Vegas.
Hold on.
I might
all,
be
you
wrong.
all you have to do is say this because the chat will correct us. I think it's in Miami. And watch.
Yeah.
Oh. We'll get to the bottom of that right now.
Dummy, the Super Bowl's in. Yes, I'll wait for it. Yes.
Yeah. We'll keep an eye out. Angie Carr, first Chill, now Fluent. Next stage is gonna have Steph on the next stream. Also Chill and love my two favorite Utah State players. Mormon.
That's why that's what I'm saying, man. I got a bit of a soft spot for this kid. The way that Green Bay handled him, and plus the fact that he went to Utah State. So
yeah.
That does matter.
There's a little love there.
Mm-hmm.
Angie, I did think about you when I saw the Packers win, and I'm not gonna lie, it was the best Packers win I've ever been able to get behind. So I'm glad to see it.
That's weird.
I don't know. I was never a big Aaron Rodgers fan, but it was more so because of, I don't know. We always faced off against them, even though we beat them. But yeah, we'll see. Sports PSP, hey y'all, are Cowboys fans the worst fan base? Yes.
It's not close.
Yes, next.
It's not a question.
Next question.
We don't even need to answer this.
Yeah.
It's not even a question, H. They are the worst. 100% they are.
I'm trying to think of a worse one.
None, Tone.
No.
Yankees, Lakers, Warriors.
We can all
Raiders,
agree. The
none.
Cowboys fans.
Cowboys fan base is the worst. And it
Are
ain't
the
even
worst.
close. Not
Yeah.
close.
Damn.
Yeah. And
got a-
then you did. Drink more water. Will we ever see a DB get 50+ career interceptions again?
No.
I don't think so. I don't.
Yeah, no.
FIFA does not agree. It's Dallas. He's a Dallas fan. Oh, Warriors fans. Yeah, Warriors fans might
No,
be
he's
the worst.
just he's not.
No,
Maybe
they're
49er fans. They're
No.
Okay, last super chat, and then we'll get into some basketball. Legoat James, Sirianni fired, Kelsey coming back. What do you guys think about those two?
Why is Sirianni fired? They just won a Super Bowl. They just won a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and they were just in the Super Bowl last year. Now you want to fire him?
He didn't do
Because
anything.
sure they had a bit of a collapse. That's not the way that works. Because if you were in the bowl game, or not even in the bowl game, if you went to the NFC Championship, you wouldn't be talking about firing him. That's not the way that works. Sirianni is a damn good coach. And who are you going to replace him with? How about that?
Yeah. As much as I said they should fire Mike McCarthy, I'm equally as
What are you talking about?
I'm equally on the other side of you keep Sirianni. Now, listen, they did seem to lose something on the defensive side. So I would look now. I know they brought in a new DC kind of halfway through the season, which is tough. They brought in Matt Patricia. That might not have been the right match. So they need to figure that defense out. But you get look, and I'm not making excuses because of injuries, but you have a healthy Jalen Hurts, a healthy AJ Brown. Now they might want to look at upgrading the running back position this offseason. And if Kelsey's gone, like okay, they might need some. The tweak. It's a tweak. It's not a new coach, new system. It's they are tweaks away from being right back in it again next year. So I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, 100% agree with you there. Okay, I want to shift over to something else, Fluent, that you can probably give us some insight on. But obviously, Pascal Siakam was traded to the Indiana Pacers for Bruce Brown. 3 picks, and then what's his name, Jordan something.
They got Nora, and they got who's I want to say a power forward or something, and then they got a point guard. Who's Brown. Bruce Brown, but they also got Nora and another a point guard from the Pels. I want to say it's just like backup guys. They play like 9-10 minutes a game. But yes, a couple of young guys.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm curious to know not only what you guys think about kind of the tandem of
Halliburton and Siakam.
Yeah, wow, Halliburton and Siakam. But also, I'm hearing I was like brain freeze. But also, I'm curious to see because I've heard a lot of people talking about Miles Turner, and they don't like him in that system. They don't think it'll maybe flow now that Siakam's coming in. So I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on all that. And Fluent, I want to hear your opinion, especially in Toronto. You're there, you're behind the scenes. You know people. What are the whispers going on? And do you think they're going to hold on to Bruce Brown? I saw possibly the Knicks are interested in getting him. Is there somebody in return you'd want to get from there? Or within that trade? So thoughts on all of that. Where are you at?
Yeah, so look, people aren't happy with the Siakam trade, but that's because you have to have an understanding of what they're doing, which is they're rebuilding. They're rebuilding a team around Scotty Barnes. They're not building a team to win this year. In fact, they're probably not building a team to win next year. They brought in Darko as their new coach, who is known for developing young players, and everyone thought, well, they brought in this coach to develop young players, but they have Siakam and OG and well, yeah, exactly. That's why these moves have been done. So Siakam as a expiring contract, Siakam who is going to look to get the max, right? Who I don't know if he qualifies for the super max, but it would have been a huge number. They were just like, we don't see him as our future. Siakam, just so you know, was the last remaining member of that. Like, there's that beautiful picture from Slam that had. I want to say Serge Ibaka, Gasol, Kyle Lowry, the guy who's on the Clippers now, Norman Powell, and OG. That was the picture. And like I had posted something, I was like, only one left, and I'm like, oh, now there's none, because he was the last remaining one. So it's a new regime, it's new young talent. So for anyone who wants to win now, it was a bad trade. However, it's an expiring contract. He has told teams like Sacramento, like others, I'm not re-signing with you.
Yeah.
So any team that made a deal for him knew that it is a half-year rental, and we don't know, because at that point he is going to be one of the most active and attractive free agents this summer, because I don't think the Pacers can do enough in the 5 minutes that they're going to have him to convince him. He will look around and he will. He might already say, I want to go here. That part we don't know. So he will look. So with all that being said, his value then goes down because he's not going to re-sign for sure. Right? You only got him for half a year. Who do you think you're going to get? So the fact that they got 3 picks out of it, they got 2 young players who are going to be, they're serviceable role players, and they got a point guard and a power forward, which they need. And to answer your last question, and Bruce Brown, I would be very, very, very surprised if he is on this team come the trade deadline. In fact, you like my guarantees when it comes to the Raptors. We haven't talked since I guaranteed they lost to the Pistons.
Yeah,
I told you that was going to happen. So I told you. So that being said, I would say Bruce Brown is going to get a lot of interest because there are a lot of playoff championship contending teams that would love a guy who could guard all 5 positions, right? Can come off the bench, can score a little bit, but really his defensive intensity, that's something that every team would want. So if someone is going to offer him, in fact, the team the Knicks who just traded, the Knicks have already called them up and said, hey, I know we just did a deal for OG. What would you guys want for Brown? Right. So that just shows you the fact that's how fast the turnaround is going to be, is there's teams already calling. So I think they'll look for another pick, another young player, or possibly 2. But you're seeing what they're putting together, right? Like when you look at the makeup of this team now with IQ, Barrett, Barnes. Unfortunately, there was an illness, and it might be long term, so maybe that's why they did it. But Christian Coloco, who I thought was going to be part of their future, they released him as well. But they're building this kind of young, fast-paced kind of scoring team is what they're building, because I think they realized the whole everybody being 6'8" and everybody switchable but no shooting. You can't win that way in this NBA. You have to be able to score. You have to be able to get up and down the court quickly. Don't be surprised if Jakob Poeltl is another piece that is gone. You know this, Jay. Mrs. Fluent is very concerned about the center position in Toronto. She went off on that, and so am I, for that matter, because they get they're going to get out rebounded if But don't be surprised if you see Brown. Now it has to be a separate deal because they just got him, so he can't be packaged with anyone else in Toronto. He has to go. Coloco, by the way, was for salary to make the deal work. To bring in these guys, they had to cut him too. They had to release him. But don't be surprised if Poeltl gets traded too. Just as part of that kind of, if not at the deadline, in the offseason, because they're really going with this young, Scotty Barnes led team. But it's they're 2 years away.
From a scheme standpoint, I think that this is good for Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Halliburton. I said this earlier on the panel. I heard that was it JJ Redick? Well, I think JJ Redick is where I heard it from. That Pascal Siakam, I think he leads the league in transition percentage, and Tyrese Halliburton leads the league in transition assists. So that's gonna really help them in terms of speeding up the game. Number two, moving Pascal to the 3, because that's the way I think he's the most effective. Him playing the 4, I don't think that hurts them, but I think that he's more effective at the 3 because he causes a lot of mismatches at the 3 at 6'9", because he can back guys down. He can play one-on-one. He's one of those type of players. And Tyrese Halliburton will get him in spaces. Right? Tyrese Halliburton will get him in space where he can absolutely do that. So with that being said, I think that it works from a scheme standpoint. Now, from the aspect of money, well, again, they own his bird rights, so they can pay him the most. The $1 million question is he willing to stay in Indiana? Because him leaving Toronto, it was obvious that they weren't willing to pay him that. And I think at age 29 years old, he's got another 4 or 5 more years at this level. So with him being 29, still being in his prime, him playing with this young Tyrese Halliburton, him playing with this group, I still think that they need to move on from Miles Turner because I think he's soft, and I'm not going to back down from that.
You think he's soft?
But who? Hold on, but to replace with who?
Replace Miles Turner?
Yeah, with who?
Replace Miles Turner. I think you can
get rid of this guy but don't give me the solution.
Absolutely, and I'm thinking that to replace Miles Turner with more of a dirty work 5-man. Because the 5-man that they have currently, I think he's soft. The kid with the Knicks, Hartenstein, I think he'd be great with Indiana.
They're not going to move off him because Mitchell Robinson is hurt, right?
Right. Mitchell Robinson is
at least now.
Well, here's the difference, though. They don't have an opportunity. They don't have a choice, Tony. He comes off the books after this year. So it's not like he's on the books for another 2 or 3 years. I think he comes off the books after this year. I think he's a free agent at the end of the season. So the Knicks are in this position where, they got damaged goods with Mitchell Robinson, and they got another free agent at the 5 spot. So I would love Hartenstein in Indiana because I think he's the dirty work, rim protecting, paint present 5-man that they need. I don't think that they're going to get an elite 5-man in terms of a bucket getter, a stretch 5 who can stretch the defense. I think that he's a rim runner, which would absolutely help playing with Tyrese Halliburton. I think he's a rebounder. I think he's a dirty work guy. I think that's what they're missing. They got plenty of offense. And now you add Siakam, and I think that you could get another big. But I think that the time that you have with Miles Turner, I think that time is over. I think that time.
Sorry for interrupting.
I think that time is over with Miles Turner. So with that being said, to sign Siakam, I don't think it's unrealistic because, number one, this team is younger. This is a playoff team. They're building something serious. Number two, you could pay them the most. Number three, contrary to popular belief, Indiana is a dope place to play if you play pro basketball and they win. And it's an awesome town to live in. 100%.
Whoa. You had me when you said a dope place to play in when they're winning. A dope place to live in?
It's a dope town to be, Tone. If you in Indiana and they winning, it's a dope place to be. Or 100%. It's awesome.
The basketball, but to live there,
an awesome place to be.
I don't think it's top 15 NBA city.
Oh man, when you see winning in Indiana, don't get me wrong, Tone. Most free agents aren't really going there.
Living, I'm agreeing with you on winning.
Right,
that's a great place to play when they're winning.
Right,
in terms of places to live, they are not.
That's the point. When you're winning, it's very much like Utah. Utah isn't fantastic. It isn't New York City. It isn't Los Angeles. But when they winning, man, Utah's a great place to be. Utah is a fantastic.
You want to live in Utah?
I don't. But if I was playing for the Jazz, and
that's Indiana.
But if I was playing for the Jazz,
you have to be winning to have good fans. But I don't want to live there any other time. That's what I'm saying. Is that it's not. I'm sorry. No one. I don't believe anyone chooses to live in Indiana.
But you're just talking about like the basketball, like the fan base itself, right? Yeah.
One of my best friends lives in Indianapolis, and Indianapolis is not a terrible place. A great place to live in that area when the Indiana Pacers are good. It's a great place to be.
No, and they're loyal too. I have a friend from Indiana
Yes,
that lives
great
here now,
place
and
to be.
he's through and through. Like he's always been a Pacers fan. It's just been rough. But
Mhm.
no, Jay, I want to take it back. You said
I'm
Miles
not
Turner.
choosing Indiana. Let me just say, I'll choose Indiana over Utah. No offense, Coach Morrison. I will choose Indiana over Utah. Excuse.
Oh yeah, no, I would too, but I'd prefer neither. No offense, but yeah, Jay, you said Miles Turner is soft, and I want to hear why, because I don't disagree with you, but I also find it interesting that only a year and a half ago, Ayton was on the trade block for Miles Turner. That was an option that obviously in the end the Suns turned down. But why do you say he's soft? And do you think he would have the same play style that he has been? I know he hasn't been. I don't think he's a top 10 big in the top
Right.
7 big in the league. Do you think that could change if he goes to a new system?
Well, two things. Number one, with Ayton there, Ayton rebounds, which Miles Turner doesn't. Ayton does rim protect. I don't think Ayton is soft, so to speak. I see him get roughed up by Joker, but
yeah,
watching Miles Turner, he gets beat up by Bam. He gets beat up by Anthony Davis. He gets beat up by Joel Embiid. He gets beat up by Jared Allen. He gets beat up by Vooch. He gets beat up. And to be a big and be competitive, I can appreciate the better bigs. Like who doesn't Joker beat up on, right? Who doesn't Joel Embiid beat up on? But when you're getting beat up on by Jared Allen, when you're getting beat up on by Vooch, when you're not a double-digit rebounder on the regular, and not just a stretch 5, you're a stretch 5 that doesn't man the paint. Like at least Porzingis will man the paint. He'll rim protect. So with that being said, this guy, I feel like he would be better like in Miami because number one, playing with Bam, being a stretch 5, I think that Bam would take a lot of that pressure off of him from having to be that presence in the paint that Bam is. In fact, Bam could move to the 4 and be that. Bam could be more of a defensive presence. When I look at Miles Turner, I just think he's soft.
I just wonder if like Miles would be better at the 4 and then in that case wouldn't fit in Miami because Bam, we all know, is better at the 4 versus when he plays the 5. I just wonder if there's a system or a team that has a big that would be that would be interchangeable with Miles, or maybe it would be a 3-way trade.
I think Miami.
You have to get a third
no
team
way,
involved.
Bam is going to Indiana.
No. We're not moving off of Bam.
Oh.
No. We're not moving off of Bam. No, we keeping Bam, and I think that
And
those
then Siakam
guys
plays the 3 or the 4 because who's their big gonna be in Indiana?
That's the idea. Like Tone just said, we got to get a third. We got to get a third team involved because we got to get a big guy down there too.
Not two.
We got to get a third team involved. Absolutely.
You lost me, but then you brought me back in because when you said he's getting beat on the regular by Embiid and AD, I'm like, who isn't? Everybody.
Yeah. But the list goes on. When you mentioned Vooch, it's like, all right, that's
when you got the Vooch,
that's the problem. But
Allen, guys like that.
Yeah. Allen's been good though. Can't lie about that. He's been tough this season. But so Indiana made these changes, but let's be honest. You just said, Fluent, Raptors probably really won't be anything for at least 2 seasons, and that's probably being generous. Do you really think they're going to win a chip in 3 seasons? Maybe not. But does Indiana, who we've seen Tyrese blossoming this season, we've seen the team coming together, meshing. Now they go out, they're making real live moves this season for Siakam, and maybe more to come. Do we really think they have a chance to be contenders, serious contenders, and even make it to the Eastern Conference Finals or further this season?
Tone?
I'm thinking because the answer is probably no. The answer is still no.
Okay.
The answer is still no. Like, are they better than the Celtics?
In the postseason, they could be.
Are they better than the Sixers?
In the postseason, they definitely could be. We don't know.
Are they better than the Bucs?
They've beaten them 4 of the last 5 times they played them.
That is a matchup that they do match up well.
That's regular season. Watch how little the regular season means. Haley, the year that the Raptors won the NBA title against the Warriors, they were 3-0 against the Warriors in the regular season. Does that mean that fully healthy they would have won in the finals?
No.
Then the regular season means nothing.
Wait. Whoa, ho. Rewind. They beat the Warriors They beat the Warriors all 3 times they played them, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Right?
They did.
When the Warriors were all healthy.
Healthy with KD and Steph. Yep.
Right? And then we get to the postseason. Does that mean that they would have beaten them? Why not? Because Kawhi Leonard's game translated into the postseason.
I'm asking because you just said the Pacers keep beating the Bucs, and I'm like, well, it's the regular season. It's different.
Yeah, well, here's the difference. The difference is I understand games get raised. I do get that. But they get raised on the other end too. Kawhi Leonard's game got raised. 100% it did. And I'm not going to hold that against him because KD got hurt. That's a you problem. That is not a me problem. Now, I understand you saying fully healthy, but he wasn't. He wasn't fully healthy. So that's not a me problem. That's a you problem. And with that being said, throughout the regular season, there's a confidence that these guys have. There's a confidence that these guys have when they're going up against these guys. When they end up beating them, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sorry. Seattle beat the Bulls twice when they played them in the regular season, and they lost them in the finals. And that was a scheme thing. I think it would have been a little bit different if Gary Payton would have dealt with Jordan a little bit earlier. But with that being said, the regular season does matter. It does matter from a confidence standpoint. Absolutely, it does.
But you two differ a lot on that because you're definitely more of a postseason fanatic versus JU. I mean, I think we can all agree they both matter. It's a build up until winning, which is the most important part of the game. But I don't know. For me personally, obviously, I wouldn't put money on the Pacers, but I do love to see it. I do love to see them growing and more competition brewing over in the East because a lot of people thought, oh, this is a two-man show. Maybe the Celtics Bucks, right? Or maybe, just maybe, we could see the Sixers creep up in there, even though we've seen I'm out on them. I love what they're doing, but I just can't put stock in them. Based off what I've seen, I hope I'm wrong, though. I'd love to see the Sixers go deep this season. And, there's always Miami and some of these teams that step up. But you have the Bucks.
What's your problem, Toad?
Who do you have?
What's the
I
issue,
just named
Toad?
the only possible, I think. Did I miss someone?
No, I don't know. You just said you want to see the Sixers go deep, and I was wrong.
I do. I do, but I don't think it'll happen.
I do like the coaching change in Philly. I do. Yeah. I love the coaching change in Philly. I love the coaching change in Philly. I love the change in philosophy offensively. I love how Tyrese Maxey plays more downhill. I love the fact that Joel Embiid is not standing on the long ball line with all 4 of the other guys, where he's playing more in the mid post. He's playing more in the low post. And we got action to the basket as opposed to all 5 of these dudes on the long ball line and nobody's doing anything. They're just watching him with the ball. I love that part right there. However, this 35-12 from Joel Embiid, this has to translate into the postseason. 100% it does. And until I see it, I'm out.
Yeah, me too. Because Jade, who do you have for your MVP right now? Is it Embiid?
No, it's Joker.
It's
now? Still Joker. It's still Joker. It's still Joker, and it's Joker simply because don't get me wrong, what Embiid is doing and the fact that I think they're well below 500 with Embiid out the lineup. I mean, what Joker means to that team and everything that he does to them, everything he does for them. I think he's 26. He leads the league in rebounding. He's in the top 5 in the league in assists. I mean, there's not many guys who can say that. They're one of the best offenses in the game. Joker will play defense. I mean, he's not great, but he will play defense. Yeah. Joel Embiid, I've seen him play defense at an all-league level, and he hasn't played like that since 2018. He hasn't been on an all-league defensive team since 2018. He's played at an all-league defensive level, but I've yet to see him get back on the all-league defensive team. That's been one of the main things with Philly not being able to go as far as we'd like for them to go. And I'm looking at what Joker brings to that unit, where he is in the standings, where they are in the standings, with both Philly and Denver both being the same, both in that same category.
Yeah,
I just think Joker is more valuable because I think he does more. Don't get me wrong, Joel Embiid is buckets, 100% he is, but I just think I think Joker does more.
Valid. Yeah, definitely valid. I also kind of moving off Siakam, Jay, we see fighting for the first seed. I mean, obviously, I believe the Wolves are 2 games ahead of OKC, but who would have thought at the beginning of this season, I definitely would have, that those would be the two teams leading at this point in the season. We're halfway through the season, and those teams have been consistent. They've stayed consistent. I don't know if you watched Anthony Edwards recently, but dude has been unreal. He is, I would have thought they were trying to somewhat bring Ja to be the new face of the league. I think there's always that possibility, but if you were to ask me, Anthony Edwards is the right person. Like he's so tough. And this team is only getting better. So what do you think about those two teams? Because if you look at the, I guess, personnel on each team, who has more to lose or who has more expectations, I would say obviously the Timberwolves, because you've got some vets, you've got Gobert, you've got Cat, you've got Anthony Edwards. None of those dudes are as young as obviously Shea, Josh, and Chet. But do you have any expectations for both of those teams? Let's just say they do stay, higher up in the seeds. Denver's creeping back up. They were down a little bit, but now they're only a game below OKC, I think. And, but if they could avoid matching up with Denver up until, later in the postseason, that could be interesting.
They still have issues. I thought Oklahoma City was a playoff team. And I'm not surprised that they're in the playoffs. What I am surprised at the top of the Western Conference. I didn't have them being this good. I had them being a bona fide playoff team, like around 6, maybe 5 at best. I didn't have them being this good. I didn't realize how good Jalen Williams, J-Dub, was going to be this year. Everybody knows that SGA is climbing the player ladder and becoming more and more the talk of the town. But they got holes. Oklahoma City has huge holes. Their 5-man is a rookie, and he's a rail. And I watched Bam beat him up. So when you get to the playoffs, I watched Anthony Davis beat him up. Teams like that are going to target him. They're going to go after him. And because they go after him, that's a big problem that they can't fix. They're one of the worst rebounding teams in the league to start. And because of that, when you get to the playoffs, when the game slows down, you got to hold teams to one possession. Because when you're giving teams 2, 3, 4 possessions in order to score, that's going to be a problem. Now, as far as Minnesota, I think Minnesota has everything necessary in order to win the NBA championship. What they're doing right now with both Cat and Rudy, with that high-low action, Rudy, I think, is going to win the Defensive Player of the Year. It's between him and Anthony Davis. I thought it was going to be Evan Mobley before the season started, but he got hurt. That's neither here nor there. With that being said, this is what I envisioned for both Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. This is what I envisioned, but he got hurt. So we didn't get a chance to see it. We're actually getting a chance to see it now. And who we're not talking about, who we should be talking about a lot more with this Minnesota team, is Mike Conley. Tone, do you know that he's got a 6-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio? On the last 10 games, he's had 8 turnovers in the last 10 games. That's less than a turnover a game. So when we're talking about a guy that's taking care of the basketball like that, that's a recipe for success. The problem that they have is how good they are defensively. They're not very good in transition. They should be a better transition team. They should score more in transition. Problem is that a lot of their guys, Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, Alexander, all of these guys, they run to the long ball line instead of running to the rim to get easy layups. They'd be a lot better in transition if they did that, but they don't. But I feel like they got everything necessary in order to win the NBA championship.
Well, and last quick, and then you go, Fluent. But remember, we watched what's up, Leaf? We watched Denver versus the Timberwolves, and even though it was, it wasn't a close series when it comes down to the actual games. What is that? We saw how crucial Mike Conley was for that, and how well they matched up. And so, if they get a whole year, Jay, of incredible experience together, they really figure this thing out, and then they come face to face with Denver. I think it would be a different story, and I think it could go to definitely a game 7. So we'll see. Fluent.
I won't. I'm not there yet with Minnesota. Mm-hmm. I said I was right about them last year. I told you this year, buy into them. They're gonna be good this year, and they are. But buying them as a serious NBA championship contender, I don't think they're there yet. Now, it's early in the season. They look good. But the one thing I know is that this team only works when everybody's healthy. I know this team only works because I think Ant is kind of the catalyst for that team. And I think when you get into a playoff where you're facing the same team for 4 to 7 games, we know that, and we've seen teams expose Rudy Gobert. And once they start exposing Rudy Gobert, and you got to rely on Cat, don't. And if I'm relying on 75-year-old Mike Conley, I'm a little nervous about that. And then I'm relying on Ant this year. I think it's a little too early for that. I think he will be that guy. I just think it's too early for that. So I think it'll be a good.
Not there yet. So we're not there yet. We're getting close.
He's almost there.
We're getting close, but we're not there yet.
He's almost there. So I think yes. Is this a team? If they match up against Denver, it goes 6 hard fought games, 1,000%. If you told me next year, I'd be with you. But my concern is Mike Conley. I'd like to get a younger Mike Conley. But maybe and then I gotta see what they do to counter what the other teams are going to do. So they might surprise us and figure it out. As of right now, we haven't seen it, but I want to see what they do to counter the situations that they're going to put Rudy Gobert in those pick and rolls to expose him, like we've seen that happen in the playoffs before. If they have a counter for that, well, now we're having a different conversation. I haven't seen that yet, so that's all. I'm almost there.
Have I not seen? Because I'm 100% confident. I've actually seen Rudy Gobert as a better perimeter defender than I've seen him in the past. Don't get me wrong. He's not. Don't get me wrong. He's not Kawhi Leonard on the perimeter. He's not Jaden McDaniels on the perimeter.
And you don't expect him to be.
I don't. I don't. But with that being said, he's actually been a lot better as a perimeter defender. And a lot of the stuff that they do is interchangeable. So a guy like Jaden McDaniels at 6'9" can switch, right? He might be the difference. Sure. He may very well be the difference. With that being said, Tone, I think that this team, when put together, you just mentioned it, if healthy, that's with everybody. If Joker goes down or if Joker is nursing an injury, that's going to hamper Denver. If Kawhi Leonard, if he goes down, he's the post holding up that tent.
Of course. So
I feel like that's everybody. However, with this Minnesota team, I feel like they have everything to win the NBA championship. As of right now, you got elite defense. You got elite perimeter defense. You got elite perimeter scoring. You got great rotation players. All that's necessary to win it, you actually have it. And it's just a matter of putting it together, Tone. I know that you don't like Mike Conley at this age. I know that you don't like him at this age, but I still think that he's viable at this age, at 36 years old. I think that if we get another year, I think this year and next year are it. After that, we got to move in a different direction. It's kind of like Chris Paul, who basically just fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I know. But and kind of, I guess, talking about a few teams that didn't make it to, at least at this point in the season, where we would have expected them. Obviously being the Suns, the Lakers, and who is the other one that not the Dubs, I guess Clippers, but they're playing all right. And we actually had a Fluent sent over last night to us a figure. It says when Fluent, why don't you
want me to pull it up?
Why don't you pull it up if you can, so they can get a visual. But
anything is possible. Anything.
We gotta
Coach, I'm confirming with Coach that he's taking me to a game, and he's saying yes. So priorities are definitely.
Oh yeah, definitely, and make sure there's a couple other tickets in there thrown in too. So, for Jay and I, okay.
Don't leave that out.
Actually, do you know what, Jay? You will go have a great time with Coach Jay and I are gonna go to the Niners Super Bowl when they win. All right, eat that, Leaf. No, I'm just kidding.
The Niners.
Like, do you see him in the chat? Look, Leaf, I have to give you your kudos because you guys had a great game last week, and I'll give you that. And I enjoyed watching it. I was cheering right with you, but now this next week, things are about to change. And I just don't want you to come crawling in tears when we absolutely annihilate you guys. All right. So, talk to us about this, Fluent.
No, I want you guys to talk to me because I want to know where this propaganda piece came from, because there there definitely is a statistic, and you can go to NBA.com and find out who has the it's the DFG percent, and it ain't 40.7 for LeBron, and LeBron isn't the lowest in the league. So are we just lying?
So for the record, I want to make sure that I'm clear. I'm a James guy. Anybody knows me knows I'm a James guy. James' best defensive years were years ago. You're not selling me that a 39-year-old James is still elite on the defensive side of the basketball. You're not. I need to see evidence of games. You're not just going to throw a number at me and go, yo, guys who, when LeBron James guard them, it's 40%. I did see the job that he did on Kawhi Leonard in the limited time that he was on him when they played the Clippers. He actually did a really good job on Kawhi Leonard when he played him, when they played the Clippers. However, you can't convince me that James is still elite on the defensive side of the basketball today. You can tell me that, yo, these numbers don't lie. Show me more. And I don't mean just show me more just from these numbers. Who else is he slowing down like that? Who else is he slowing down to have them shoot 40%, 41% when he's covering them? And if that's true, that defense should be infectious. Because when James is doing it, that means Anthony Davis is doing it. And when Anthony Davis is doing it, that means that the Lakers should be a better team defensively. And with them being a better team defensively, they should win more. And they don't.
So let me be clear. One, these types of numbers, to quote my great grandmother, are poppycock, which means it's full of crap. Okay, that's one. Okay,
you shouldn't have been talking shit.
All right. Number two.
Oh, God.
It's not even. It's because why is it bull? It's because this means nothing. This tells you, okay, well, hold on. Who was shooting? Was it a 3? Was it a 2?
Yeah.
Was it a dunk? Because if it's 40.7 on and it's 90% 3-point shots, that's horrible. That's horrible because the league is averaging 36% from 3. So they're shooting well above average. The other thing is this isn't even real. In fact, because and I'm cool if it is real. I'll give him and say, hey, cool. You lead a stat. Awesome. High five. Here's the problem. So I pulled it up on NBA.com. And his actual, when guarded by LeBron James, teams are averaging 42%. 42%. And when I look at the list of who's above him, he's on page 2. So you have guys like Kevin Durant that are at 42%. Caleb Martin, Victor Wembanyama, Christian Wood, Kelly Oubre, Jeff Green, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Kyle Anderson, Jaden McDaniels, Bam Adebayo, Robin Lopez. I'm not saying these guys aren't good defenders, but I'm saying I'm just going through the list. Andrew Wiggins. Is Andrew Wiggins having a phenomenal defensive year this year? Hold on, but wait, as they say in the sales world, there's more. Hunter Tyson, don't know who that is. Chris Livingston, Dexter Dennis. Bol has a higher. Chris Dunn, Trey Murphy the third. And I can go on. There's probably another 20 guys. He's literally on page 2 of this stat. So this is the, and look, he's a LeBron guy. I'm not a LeBron guy. But I am a real fact guy. If you give me a real fact, cool, I'm with you, right? But when you lie because it's this media army that's trying to, he's the number one scorer or the number one whatever for receding 38-year-olds on a Tuesday. Now I know you're trying to push a narrative that just you need to stop. I just saw a video today about the 10+ point games, and they're like, oh, but we don't include the playoffs. What do you mean you don't include the playoffs? So anyways, that's a different conversation. So I'm going to take this down because it's not real, but it just goes to show you, right? You have to be careful because you will see these types of things on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and heck on ESPN, because I can show you like 5 that they did in the last 3 months that the stat is wrong because they're pushing a narrative. They're trying to sell views, and you and I I'm not sure, Haley, if you were on that episode. I apologize. You might have been. Remember, we had the VP of analytics from ESPN on the show?
Yes, we did.
And he told us what's the number one thing that sells? Anything to do with LeBron. So they're going to push things to because that gets ratings. And of course, the LeBron fans will be like, yeah, look. But it's not true. Do you care that it's not true? I don't know. But that
was in the in-season tournament when they said, quote, Anthony Davis is the first Laker since Chamberlain to go 40, 20, and 5 assists. I was like, wait a minute. That's not true. Why do I know that that's not true? Because I was there to watch Shaq go 40, 20, and 5 against the Dikembe Mutombo in the NBA Finals. So that's not true.
And just for the record, that game in the NBA Finals counted. The game in the in-season tournament did not.
It did not. Agreed.
Little minor detail that you might. And I'll just quickly, because the in-season tournament, I got to tell you a fast story. So Fluent Jr., as you know, loves his NBA 2K, and so he's like, "Hey, check out my last 2 games, Daddy." I'm like, "All right, let me see." And I go, "Wow, you scored 117 points," and he's like, "Yeah, but." They said I didn't break Chamberlain's record because it was the in-season tournament championship game, and that doesn't count as a regular season. So I had to do it again the next night. And I'm like, this sucks. Did you imagine you score 100 in the in-season tournament championship game and it doesn't count for the record? Oh, that would be brutal.
And we actually hang a banner up too, Tone.
No, that's what they're saying.
Nope.
We get a trophy for a game that didn't count.
I'm not acknowledging the banner.
We get a trophy for a game that didn't count.
All right. Is it? Oh shoot.
Yeah, we have 3 minutes. So
we're not gonna get to see. Oh man, I'm gonna play it anyways. Next week we're gonna bring you a new segment called Fluent Chill Headlines. Haley, can we make sure to do that next week?
Yes. Well, I didn't know we had a guest on, but I'm so much.
Oh, now you're going to blame me for bringing a guest on.
I have headlines. I'm just glad we got to have that special segment because that was dope. So thank you for that.
Which is super dope. It was.
He's so you know, he's so happy to rub it in my face. He's like,
I bet.
I'm right there.
Yeah,
with
I mean,
it,
yeah, he knows it. So I don't know. I would definitely take it. But any last minute thoughts? Oh, I just want to do this really quick, okay? Because I wrote these down, so I want to give them to you guys. These are for this weekend, for the playoffs. So I want to do last minute predictions.
Yes, make our picks.
Really quick. So we're gonna start off. I'll give you little insights that I found. Ravens Texans first game. In their last 5 meetings, Baltimore has put up 4 wins against Houston. The Texans may struggle, obviously, in the cold weather because they're coming into kind of like the Dolphins, same situation. And I wonder, do you guys think that the bye week hinders or benefits Baltimore? Because Jay, we know sometimes coming off that bye week, especially when a team is hot, it can be tough. So who do you guys have for that matchup? Chat, you guys too.
I think the bye week is good. I do.
Okay.
I think the bye week is good. I watched Brock Purdy come off a bye week and just be super sharp. So I think the bye week is good. It helps guys get healthy, and I think Baltimore handles Houston. I do. I think they handle them this weekend.
Okay. Me too.
Hey, little bit. How are you, dear?
She can't hear you, but she says hi. I'm going with the red, the white, and the blue. The Houston Texans will continue their improbable run past Baltimore this week.
Now you're trying to take all underdogs because you saw Jay last week. Ravens are definitely winning. I'm with you, Jay. I think Ravens are taking the win. Okay, my favorite matchup. Packers versus 49ers. Both won 6 of their last 8 games. Packers are the youngest offense in the NFL, but could that play to their favor? And they are the 28th in defensive DVOA and give up 30 to the Panthers in week 16. So what is that going to look like? Fluent, you start. Who are you taking?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm doing it for 2 reasons. 1, to go against you 2 guys because we know who you're going to pick. And 2, because if I pick them, they're probably going to lose. So I'm going with the Packers over the 49ers in a reverse psychology against the universe.
I'm on record saying this, and I stand on it. Give me a team that won it with kids at the helm. It hasn't happened. And we are not going to be the part. We're not going to be a part of that. No.
Aaron Rodgers was in year 5 when he won his Super Bowl. Jordan Love is in year 4. It's the Packer way.
But keep going, though. That crew had a bunch of vets on that crew, on that offense. A bunch of vets. It wasn't a bunch of kids like it is now. Run the football. That's what the game plan is on Sunday. Run the football.
Leaf and I are going to be wearing our cheese heads, and we know that if the Packers win, Coach is taking me to that game. So, yeah, we got to go with the Pack.
That's crazy because it ain't going to happen. And I agree with you, Double P. This is what I've been saying all week. Nick has not been quite himself this season, but I do think that Jordan Love is going to get a taste of the Nick Bosa experience. So I'm excited to see that.
Go after him.
Nick
Get him.
Experience.
Get him.
Okay.
Get him.
This is actually, we're going to go a tiny bit over. I don't think we have another show, so we'll be fine. This is my favorite matchup to watch. I think this is always a great show. The Bills versus the Chiefs. The Chiefs went 4 out of 4 following their bye week, or they went 4-4 following their bye week in week 10. So not the greatest end to their season that they've had in recent times. Mahomes is 5 out of 5 in divisional playoff games, although those were all at Arrowhead. So this is going to be his first road game in the postseason. So Jay, do you think Josh Allen can control his turnovers, and who do you have coming out of this game?
This has become an annual event now with the Bills in KC. What's this now? Year 3 now that we're in?
Yeah.
This
is the third year. Yeah,
this has become an annual event. At some point, Josh Allen can't be. I mean, we had a shootout last year where you got 200 yards from your receiver, 500 yards from your quarterback. So I think this year they're primed to beat Kansas City. I do. I think this year they are primed to beat them. Josh Allen looks 1 minute like the best quarterback in the game. The next minute he looks like he shouldn't even be in the NFL.
Yeah.
This, I think that he's going to look better. I do. I think he looks better this week. I think they run the football more. I think that they end up keeping Kansas City's front 4 at bay, including Jones, keeping him at bay.
Yeah, that's who I'm worried about because he was but coming off a week where he did take on such the brunt of the load, I wonder what that's going to look like. But I'm with you, Jay.
Pause.
I'm going to take, pause. I'm going to take the Chiefs because I know better. I also think we might just see a 49ers Chiefs rematch that you've been predicting for the past 3 seasons, Jay. You've been saying it over and over and over.
To get in the bowl game. I do. I want to see these teams to get in the bowl game. I do.
I do too. But I also would say if you take the Bills, I would love to see that. Jay or Fluent, who you got?
This ain't hard, Tom.
It is hard. It is hard because
this one is hard.
Because it's hard.
Hey, yo.
It's hard. It's hard because the Chiefs aren't who they were. They just aren't. And we really don't know, like the Bills, like you said, the Bills are you putting money on the Bills? Like they always seem to let you down. But if I'm going between the two, I think the Bills. I'm going with the Bills. I think the Bills just, for whatever reason, they got Casey's number. I think Casey has a lot of holes that they're going to need to fill. I knew it was bad once I said it. In the offseason. And I said this. I said, Kansas City, I said this to you 2 years ago. They surprised us last year, but I said, Mahomes' money is kicking in. And now this team's going to have to, it's going to be different. And I think we're starting to see that starting to erode this team. And I think it'll be a dogfight. I think it's going to be a very, very close game. Last possession, like literally comes down to who has the ball last. But I'm going to go with the Bills.
I like it. But also we have to remember Bills have a lot of injuries. So we'll see if that plays into it. But I like the picks.
Everybody's hurt this time of year.
And then last pick, and then we're going to check out for the night. But we got Texans versus the Bucs.
No, the Lions.
Or I mean the Lions, my bad.
Maybe you just picked the Super Bowl.
Maybe I did. what I'm saying.
Could you imagine?
Dun,
You
dun,
accidentally said it, and that's
I
what
wouldn't
it is.
even be mad if that was a Super Bowl. I think that'd be. I would be pissed actually.
No one would. No one would watch that. No one would watch that Super Bowl, especially who's the halftime show. We'll talk about that after. Okay, Lions, and Bucs. All right. Well, okay, you guys convinced me. All right, you convinced me.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Margarine Mayfield.
Focus, Toad.
Baker Mayfield, and the Tampa Bay Bucs in a shocking upset in the frigid weather up in Detroit. In the
freezing dome, Tone, in a freezing cold dome.
Tampa Bay.
They can
Tampa
handle
Bay.
it. I'm gonna side with the coach on this one because I trust his insider information, and I agree. I think Detroit just has that it factor. They're really special, and I think they're gonna get it done. But oh man, I think it should be a close game. I hope so.
And for the record, if Tampa Bay and Green Bay win, that game would be in Tampa, right?
Tampa, yes.
Yeah,
they're the division winner.
They're high.
Beautiful.
Yeah, they're the division
warm
winner.
weather. Thank you, Coach. We're going to a warm weather game, Coach. Love it.
They're the division winner. Yep.
I'm just trying to get out of the cold. Oh, sorry. Who are you picking?
I'm gonna pick Detroit, but I'm gonna pick Detroit in a dogfight because Jared Goff. I mean, this quarterback duel between these two, I think it's going to be fantastic. And I think Jared Goff, who's been there before, I think he gets it done. I think he edges Baker Mayfield. But I think it's a dogfight, though. I do.
Yeah, I think so, too. I think it's going to be a good game. All right, you guys. Well, we are going to check off for the night. It's been good. What belt? Red belt. Nice.
Two away from his black. Two away from his black belt.
Okay.
Two away.
That's impressive.
I know.
Yeah. Get some clips when he gets his black belt from his.
Did you not see where he's kicking the board? I'm holding the board and he kicks it and he breaks it.
Is it on your IG?
Yeah.
Oh, look.
Yeah, it scared the crap out of me. I thought he was going to break one of my fingers.
Don't do that. Please don't do that.
Does he practice with the plastic ones too, where they like break?
No.
When I used to train, we have plastic boards. They like go together, but there's various strengths. So like there's a black one that like even if you like jump on it, like held it and jump through it, you can't get through it because it's so it's so strong. But yeah, that's usually
this was a thick piece of like solid wood that I was like, there is no way that this kid, is gonna break through this like, I mean, it's like this thick, like it is solid. Thick. And he just went bam, and I'm like, yeah. Let me read. Whoops. Like he just right through it. I wonder if it replays. Yeah. Like,
that's a good sidekick. Yeah.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. I hope I don't get hit with one of those in a couple of years.
It's good to know. It's a good skill, and it's such an underrated sport because you learn respect, which I think most kids these days definitely need. But it's like you just learn to like be mentally strong and like have a level of respect, which I think is pretty dope. So, all right, guys, we're checking out. If you guys aren't already, make sure to go check out Playback, Player's Choice on Playback. We're gonna be streaming. Jay has a game tomorrow, Celtics versus Denver, which is gonna be so much fun. I'll definitely be checking in, but go become a member over there. If you're not on here, make sure to become a member, and as always, we always have merch, so you can always check that out too. Any last thoughts from you two?
You know what, there's our merch.
Hey
oh man, I have to kick you out to give us our merch.
Use the QR code, guys. Use the QR code.
Use the QR code. There you go.
All right, you guys. Yeah, appreciate y'all for coming through. We will see you next weekend. We have obviously the NFL game, so hopefully next Thursday we can dig a little bit more into that. But yeah, for now, Jay,
take it light, but take it.
Bye, guys.